channel. Oh my gosh, first I want to say thank you so much for the love that you guys have given me on my last video and throughout my entire channel. Oh my god, I can't believe we're at 80 subscribers. That's so surreal to me. I don't know why, but it's surreal. Thank you guys. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, sorry, but first we're gonna do something a little different today. So I thought that we could read together The Cruel Prince. Yeah, we're doing it. Guys. I don't know how many chapters I want to read yet. I'm thinking maybe just one to start off, and if you guys like that, we can keep going and make it a series. I was debating between The Cruel Prince and The City of Ember. Hold on. I have to fix the wiring on the mic. Give me a second. Okay. I fixed it, I think. Hopefully that's better. But I was debating between that and The City of Ember. I have all 3 books of The City of Ember. I read this when I was in 6th grade, I think. It was a school book. So if this brings back a lot of nostalgia for you and you want me to read it, let me know in the comments. And drop any other suggestions below on whatever videos you want me to do. I saw one comment that was telling me about the receipt crinkling that I did in my last video, so I might bring that back. So I did read a little bit of it, as you can tell, but it's literally like not a lot. Like, I don't think I even finished the first chapter, so we're gonna do it from the beginning. Okay, so I think we can just go ahead and start. I've had this book since before the TikTok craze. Look at that map. It is so beautiful and detailed. Do you see that? I'm trying so hard not to knock down my camera, guys. Not my camera, mic. Because it's like right there. But yeah, look at that. Oh, it's gorgeous, bro. And then over here it says book 1. Children born of fairy stock never need for shirt or frock, never want for food or fire, always get their heart's desire. Jingle pockets full of gold, marry when they're 7 years old. Every fairy child may keep 2 strong ponies and 10 sheep. All have houses, each their own, built of brick or granite stone. They live on cherries, they run wild. I'd love to be a fairy's child. And that is a poem by Robert Graves called I'd Love to Be a Fairy's Child. I like that she included that. It's very cute. Should we read the prologue, guys? I think we're gonna read the prologue. Okay. Actually, let me adjust my seat first, because I feel like I'm going to knock into the table because of how much I'm moving. Hold on, give me a second. I'm back, guys. Alright, let's start reading. On a drowsy Sunday afternoon, a man in a long dark coat hesitated in front of a house on a tree-lined street. He hasn't parked a car, nor had he come by taxi. No neighbor had seen him strolling along the sidewalk. He simply appeared, as if stepping between one shadow and the next. The man walked to the door and lifted his first fist to knock. Inside the home, Jude sat on the living room rug and ate fish sticks, soggy from the microwave and dragged through a sludge of ketchup. Her twin sister, Taryn, napped on the couch, curled around a blanket. Thumb in her finger, fruit punch-stained mouth. And on the other end of the sofa, their older sister, Vivian, stared at the television screen, her eerie, split-pupilled gaze fixed on the cartoon mouse as it ran from the cartoon cat. She laughed when it seemed as if the mouse was about to get eaten. Vivi was different from the other big sisters. But since 7 years old, Jude and Taryn were identical, with the same shaggy brown hair and heart-shaped faces. They were different too. Vivi's eyes and the lightly furred points of her ears were, to Jude, not so much more stranger than being the mirror version of another person. And if sometimes she noticed the way the neighborhood kids avoided Vivi, or the way their parents talked about her in low, worried voices, Jude didn't think it was anything important. Grown-ups were always worried, always whispering. Taryn yawned and stretched, pressing her cheeks against Vivi's knee. Outside, the sun was shining, scorching the asphalt of the driveways. Lawnmower engines whirred, and the children splashed in backyard pools. Dad was in the outbuilding, where he had a forge. Mom was in the kitchen cooking hamburgers. Everything was boring. Everything was fine. When the knock came, Jude hopped up to answer it. She hoped it might be one of the girls from across the street, wanting to play video games or inviting her for an after-dinner swim. The tall man stood on their mat, glaring down at her. He wore a brown leather duster despite the heat. His shoes were shod with silver, and they rang hollowy as he stepped over the threshold. Jude looked up into his shadow face and shivered. "Mom," she yelled. "Mom, someone's here." Her mother came from the kitchen, wiping her wet hands on her jeans. When she saw the man, she went pale. "Go to your room," she told Jude, in a scary voice. "Now." "Whose child is that?" the man asked, pointing at her. His voice was oddly accented. "Yours? His? No one." Mom didn't even look in Jude's direction. "She's no one's child." That wasn't right. Jude and Taryn looked just like their dad. Everyone said so. She took a few steps towards the stairs, but didn't want to be alone in her room. Vivi, Jude thought. Vivi will know who the tall man is. Vivi will know what to do. But Jude couldn't seem to make herself move any further. "I've seen many impossible things," the man said. "I have been the acorn before the oak. I have seen the spark before the flame. But never have I seen such as this. A dead woman living. A child born from nothing." Mom seemed at a loss for words. Her body was vibrating with tension. Jude wanted to take her hand and squeeze it, but she didn't dare. "I doubted Bailkin, this is our first name in the book, Bailkin, when he told me I'd find you here," said the man, his voice softening. "The bones of an earthly woman and her unborn child and the burned remains of my estates were convincing. Do you know what it is to return from battle to find your wife dead, your only heir with her, to find your life reduced to ash?" Mom shook her head, not as if she was answering him, but as though she was trying to shake off the words. He took a step towards her, and she took a step back. There was something wrong with the tall man's leg. He moved stiffly, as though it hurt him. The light was different in the entry hall, and Jude could see the odd green tint of his skin, and the way his lower teeth seemed too large for his mouth. She was able to see that his eyes were like Vivi's. "I was never going to be happy with you," Mom told him. "Your world isn't for people like me." The tall man regarded her for a long moment. "You made vows," he said finally. He lifted her chin, "And then I renounced them." His gaze went to Jude, and his expression hardened. "What is a promise from a mortal wife worth? I suppose I have my answer." Mom turned. At her mother's look, Jude dashed into the living room. Taryn was still sleeping, the television was still on. Vivian looked up with half-lidded cat eyes. "Who's at the door?" she asked. "I heard arguing." "A scary man," Jude told her. Out of breath, even though she's barely run at all. Her breath was pounding. "We're supposed to go upstairs." She didn't care that Mom had only told her to go upstairs. She wasn't going by herself. With a sigh, Vivi unfolded from the couch and shook Taryn awake. Drowsily, Jude's twin followed them into the hallway. As they started towards the carpet-covered steps, Jude saw her father come in from the back garden. He held an axe in his hand, forged to be near a replica of one he'd studied in a museum in Iceland. It wasn't weird to see Dad with an axe. He and his friends were into old weapons, and would spend a lot of time talking about material culture and sketching ideas for fantastical blades. What was odd was the way he held the weapon, as if he was going to... Her father swung the axe towards the tall man. He had never raised a hand to discipline Jude or her sister, even when they got into big trouble. He wouldn't hurt anyone. He just wouldn't. And yet... The axe went past the tall man, biting into the wood trim of the door. Taryn made an odd, high keening noise and slapped her palms over her mouth. The tall man drew a curved blade from beneath his leather coat, a sword, like from a storybook. Dad was trying to pull the axe free from the doorframe, when the man had plunged the sword into Dad's stomach, pushing it upward. There was a sound, like sticks snapping, and an animal cry. Dad fell into the Vespucci carpet, the one Mom always yelled about when they tracked mud onto it. The rug that was turning red. Mom screamed. Jude screamed. Taryn and Vicky screamed. Everyone seemed to be screaming, except the tall man. "Come here," he said, looking directly at Vivi. "You monster," their mother shouted, moving forward to the kitchen. "He's dead." "Do not run from me," the man told her. "Not after what you've done. If you run again, I swear." But she didn't run. She was almost around the corner when his blade struck her in the back. She crumpled to the linoleum, falling arms knocking off the magnets off the fridge. The smell of fresh blood was heavy in the air, like wet, hot metal, like those scrubbing pads Mom used to clean the frying pan when stuff was really stuck on. June ran at the man, slamming her fist against his chest, kicking his legs. She wasn't even scared. She wasn't sure she felt anything at all. The man paid June no mind. For a moment, he just stood there, as though he couldn't quite believe what he'd done, as though he wished he could take back the last 5 minutes. And then he sank on one knee and caught hold of Jude's shoulder. He pinned her arm to her sides so she couldn't hit him anymore, but he wasn't even looking at her. His gaze was on Vivian. "You were stolen from me," he told her. "I've come to take you to your true home, in Elfheim, beneath the hill. There you will be rich beyond measures. There you will be with your own kind." "No," Vivi told him in her somber little voice. "I'm never going anywhere with you." "I'm your father," he told her, his voice harsh, rising like the crack of a lash. "You are my heir and my blood, and you will obey me, in this as in all things." She didn't move, but her jaw set. "You are not her father," June shouted at the man, even though he and Vivi had the same eyes. She wouldn't let herself believe it. His grip tightened on her shoulders, and she made a little squeezed, squeaking sound, but she stared up defiantly. She'd won plenty of staring contests. He looked away first, turning to watch Taryn, on her knees, shaking Mom while she sobbed, as though she was trying to wake her up. Mom didn't move. Mom and Dad were dead. They were never going to move again. "I hate you," Vivi proclaimed to the tall man with a viciousness that Jude was glad of. "I will always hate you. I vow it." The man's stony expression didn't change. "Nonetheless, you will come with me. Ready these little humans. Pack light. We ride before dark." He stared at Vivi and then snorted. "You'd protect your sisters from me, would you? Tell me then, where would you have them go?" Vivi didn't answer. They had no grandparents, no living family at all, at least. None they knew. He looked up at Jude again, releasing her shoulders, and rose to his feet. "They are the progeny of my wife, and thus my responsibility. I may be cruel, a monster, and a murderer, but I do not shirk my responsibilities. Nor should you shirk yours as the eldest." Years later, when Jude told herself the story of what happened, she couldn't recall the part where they packed. Shock seemed to have erased that hour entirely. Somehow Vivi must have found bags, must have put in their favorite picture books and their most beloved toys, along with photographs and pajamas and coats and shirts. Or maybe Jude had packed for herself. She was never sure. She couldn't imagine how they had done it. With their parents' bodies cooling downstairs, she couldn't imagine how it had felt. And as for the years went by, she couldn't make herself feel it again. That horror of the murders dulled with time. Her memories of the day blurred. A black horse was nibbling the grass of the lawn when they went outside. Its eyes were big and soft. Jude wanted to throw her arms around its neck and press her white face into its silky mane, but before she could, the tall man swung her and then Taryn across the saddle, handling them like baggage rather than children. He put Vivi up behind him. Hold on. Jude and her sisters wept the whole day to fairyland. And then chapter 1 is just one page where it says, in fairy, there is no fish sticks, no ketchup, no television. It's very cute. And then it goes into chapter 2. We're gonna take a little break. Okay. Let me know how you guys liked that. I can't believe it took me 20 minutes just to read the prologue. This is a lot harder than it looks, by the way. I don't know why, but it's a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. I really like the paperback. Hold on. I think I'm gonna stop the video here, specifically because I wasn't expecting it to take this long, but I will be following it up. Okay, I promise. I think I should do a chapter of video if each of them take 20 minutes. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Bye guys.